In just a moment, we'll be seeing the women's 4x400-meter relays. The Soviets were pre-meet favorites, but in the individual 400 that took place here in Seattle on Sunday, the Americans looked very good in this race, so it should be very close as you look at the American record there of 3:15.51. This track has proved to be, relative to records, Craig Masbach, a slow track. We don't necessarily expect to see anything around the 3:15 time. We'd all be surprised about that. But since this is our first relay event, and we'll have the 4x4s, the 4x1s tonight, men and women, let's talk a little bit about technique and about the relay event.
Well, the United States invented relays. A lot of people trace relays back to the Pony Express in the 19th century. That evolved the notion of people going from place to place. In the old days, they used to touch hands. There was no relay baton. And eventually, it was the United States that developed the notion of the relay carnival, the Penn relays, the Drake relays, the Mount Sac relays. And traditionally, American athletes have much more experience with relays, especially this relay, what we called the mile relay in the old days, now known as the 4x4 or the 1,600-meter relay.
Now, the United States team in this event, Natasha Kaiser, Rochelle Stevens, Lily Leatherwood, and Micelle Malone. There are 2 Soviet teams and 1 team from Jamaica. How strong is the U.S. in this event in your view?
Well, I think the U.S. has to be the favorite based on the fact that we really have 4 of our very best 400-meter runners at this point in this race. Micelle Malone, our national champion, actually broke 50 seconds on a relay at the Penn Relays earlier this year. She's what you call a killer on the anchor leg. Put her near the lead, and she can win the race for you.
Now, the Soviets have 2 teams in this event. The first team will wear all red, or red tops, and the second team will be wearing all white. In lane 2 will be what we'll call the first team with the red tops. And there you see Vinogradova, Shmonina, Ruzina, and Jigalova.
Soviets have a great tradition in this event of 400 meters, although these women are not up to the standards of previous Soviet athletes. The second athlete, Shmonina, was 7th in the 400. Ruzina was 5th in the 400 in here. Micelle Malone, our national champion, will anchor for the U.S. Rochelle Stevens was 3rd in the 400 in this event.
Now, the team from Jamaica will be in lane 4. Let's talk about the strength of that team. They'll be led off by Kathy Williams, and the anchor is Juliet Campbell.
Well, they too have a great tradition in sprinting back to the 1940s when the great mile relays and 4x400 relays of the Jamaicans in the men's side contested for the gold medal. One year they were disqualified. In 1952, they actually beat the U.S. to win the 4x400 meters. And a great tradition of 400-meter running. Herb McKinley, Arthur Went, all the way back to those days. So clearly, that's something that's important in Jamaica. And in fact, we mentioned when we talked about the 200 meters, the great Don Quarry, who actually coaches Grace Jackson, one of Jamaica's leading runners. When he won the 200 meters at the Montreal Olympics, they named a street after him, put up a statue. He's of the order of a Babe Ruth or a Ted Williams or a Willie Mays in his country. So 4x400 meter running, sprinting in Jamaica, one of the most important things in sports in that country.
Now, the lanes that these teams will be running in, as we say, 2 teams from the Soviet Union in this event. The first Soviet team, the women with the red tops, will be in lane 2. The United States in lane 3, Jamaica in lane 4, and the Soviet Union, what we'll call the B team, in all white, will be on the outside in lane 5. It's the 4x400 grueling race, 1,600 meters. This track here at Husky Stadium, the sun punching through what had been a cloudy day. It is a beautiful afternoon and here in Seattle, and the women's 4x400 relay is underway. The United States in lane 3, the Soviets on the outside in 2 and 5, and Jamaica in lane 4.
And you see that Kaiser from the United States is out very, very slowly, and the Soviets have taken the early lead. Now, what you normally want to do is put your second strongest runner on this leg, because they run this entire leg in lanes, then they hand off in lanes. The next runner runs in lanes around the curve and then cuts for the inside. So it's important to try to have a good runner up front, so when they cut for the inside, you can have the lead.
Now, Diezda Loboyko of the Soviet Union in white in lane 5 has taken the lead.
Now that team, the team in white from the Soviet Union, is made up of 800-meter runners primarily. Kaiser finishes well, and she is coming in well now.
Now here's the very delicate baton pass, and the Soviets continue with the lead, but the second U.S. runner, Rochelle Stevens, is in second place.
Kaiser split 52.7, well off her best. So she didn't run a good leg, but Rochelle Stevens is our national champion back in 1989, Morgan State graduate. A lot of relay experience. Now, you would normally want your most aggressive runner on the second leg, someone that can grab the lead back if you're behind or can run aggressively from the front. Stevens is starting to close in now.
Marina Shmonina, the Soviet Union, is number 122, is in first place. Here comes Rochelle Stevens, the 1989 U.S. champion. She's going to grab the lead here down the backstretch of this leg, the second leg of the 4x400 relay. Or is she? Look at the determination of Shmonina, who holds the lead at the exchange. Now it's Yelena Ruzina and Lily Leatherwood, 1-2.
Leatherwood won the gold medal in this event for the USA back in 1984. Tremendous relay experience when she ran for Alabama. Once took their team from way, way behind to a big NCAA victory. Now she likes to go out slowly normally. In a relay, she doesn't have that option. She has to stick right there. A lot of times you put your weakest person on the third leg. Lily Leatherwood is not a weak leg for the U.S.
The Jamaica team dressed in all black in third place. Kathy Williams. Check that. Andrea Thomas running this leg. But right now, the Soviets continue to lead. Yelena Ruzina, and right behind comes Lily Leatherwood. This is the third leg of the 4x400. About to come up to the bell lap. It'll be Micelle Malone of the U.S. and Ludmila Zhigalova of the Soviet Union. Let's see what happens. It's a two-team race.
And this is where relay handoffs are important. That was not a good one for the U.S. as Micelle Malone was virtually standing there when Lily Leatherwood came in. And here's a baptism by fire for Micelle Malone. She's still a student at Arizona State. She broke 50 seconds earlier this season at the Penn Relays, anchoring her team to victory. But can she do it here?
Nuradinova of the Soviet Union is third, and Juliet Campbell of Jamaica is fourth. But let's look at the top two. It's Zhigalova of the Soviet Union being chased by Micelle Malone of the United States. We have 100 meters remaining. Can Micelle Malone catch Ludmila Zhigalova? Zhigalova showing the strength down the stretch, and the Soviets are going to win the 4x400 relay. Ludmila Zhigalova, the anchor, beating Micelle Malone and the United States.
A tough, tough challenge for Micelle Malone. Still a college student, still learning this event. A big high school runner in this event, but she's still learning it at the international ranks. Micelle Malone, every 400 meters is a test of character, and she surely closed the gap early, but she wasn't able to maintain it at the end. Her split only around 50.5, so off of her best this season. But as we know, this track is not necessarily the fastest one. Now take a look at this relay handoff. Normally you don't think of them as being critical, but look, Micelle Malone isn't moving at all as Lily Leatherwood comes in. There, at the last moment, she moves, and that gave away 2 or 3 yards that were critical at the finish line.
So we've got a fast time in this event, 3:22.70, 3:23.72 unofficially. And remember, the best the world time, best in 1990 was 3:26.08. So it gives an idea that this was a very fast leg. And to also talk about the depth of the Soviet Union, the B team of the Soviet Union, dressed in all white, finished third. Jamaica was fourth. So it was Ludmila Zhigalova holding off a challenge from the United States and Micelle Malone in the women's 4x400 relay here at Husky Stadium. Let's go back to Larry.